Top 10 Archive. After serving so many years dining on prison food, this list of nefarious inmates were given the chance to enjoy something truly divine, should they wish it. Of course, it would be the last thing they ever ate, so the request should be a good one. For this group of death row inmates that make up this mouth-watering installment, their last meal was about enjoying an abundance of the more delicious things in life before making that final walk to their inevitable demise. Number 10. Peter Kurten. By November of 1929, Peter Kurten was known in the German city of Dusseldorf as the Vampire of Dusseldorf, or the Dusseldorf Monster. Over a period of time, Kurten amassed a track record of arson, attempted murder, and 9 known murders, though that number is suspected to be closer to 60. At his trial, Kurten confessed to 79 offenses and was charged with 9 murders and 7 attempted murders, a conviction that acted as his one-way ticket down death row. For his last meal, Kurten requested a plate of Wiener Schnitzel, fried potatoes, and white wine. The murderer enjoyed the meal so much that he requested, and was granted, a second portion. Number 9. Timothy McVeigh. McVeigh's unfortunate claim to fame was the murder of 168 people in what is infamously known as the Oklahoma City bombing. Utilizing ammonium nitrate and nitromethane, McVeigh lit a 2-minute fuse at the base of the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building, which destroyed the entire north half, partially in response to the way the famed Waco siege was handled. The aftermath was devastating, and McVeigh was sentenced to death by lethal injection for his heinous crime. On that final day of his life, like many other death row inmates, McVeigh was asked what he wanted to have as his last meal. His answer? 2 pints of mint chocolate chip ice cream. A decent last meal indeed, and probably too delicious for a man with that many deaths associated with his name. Number 8. Robert Alton Harris. On April 21, 1992, Robert Alton Harris was executed via the gas chamber at San Quentin State Prison. His grotesque crime was the brutal murder of 2 teenage boys in San Diego, California on July 5, 1978. Along with his brother, Harris hijacked a vehicle occupied by 16-year-olds John Majewski and Michael Baker. Immediately after murdering the 2 boys in a remote area, Harris and company robbed a San Diego bank and were arrested within an hour. Prior to his walk down to the gas chamber, Harris requested a feast of a 21-piece bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken, 2 large Domino's pizzas, a bag of jelly beans, a 6-pack of Pepsi, and a pack of cigarettes, or, as is more popularly known, the College Finals Week Diet. Number 7. Ronnie Lee Gardner. Ronnie Lee Gardner's request for his last meal may have been a little more elaborate than some, but his request was still granted by Utah's Department of Corrections. Gardner had a troubled past that involved prostitution, foster care, and a series of escapes from custody for charges such as robbery, burglary, and murder. In October of 1985, Gardner would receive a sentence that he could not escape after being convicted of capital murder in the case of Melvin John Otterstrom. For his final meal, Gardner enjoyed a helping of steak, lobster tail, apple pie, vanilla ice cream, and 7-Up, all before he was granted the right to watch the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Number 6. Gerald Lee Mitchell. On June 4, 1985, a simple sale of marijuana turned into a bloody crime scene when Gerald Lee Mitchell enticed Charles Marino and Kenneth Fleming to a Houston park for the exchange. Instead of pulling out a bag of pot, Mitchell produced a sawed-off shotgun. The armed dealer forced the 2 to drive to a vacant house where he robbed and murdered them in cold blood. Afterwards, when he was picked up driving Marino's car, Mitchell confessed, claiming the shooting to be an accident, and also provided details on the shooting of Hector Manguia, whom he had killed the same day. Before being led down to the lethal injection gurney, Mitchell dined on nothing but a bag of assorted Jolly Ranchers. Number 5. Thomas J. Grasso. Prior to execution by lethal injection, robber and murderer Thomas J. Grasso had a meal fit for a king, though it wasn't quite what the convict wanted. On March 20th, 1995, Grasso met his final punishment for the strangulation of 87-year-old Hilda Johnson and murder of 81-year-old Leslie Holtz. While some that face their final moments have words of remorse, Grasso was certainly regretful, just not for the murders he committed. Included in his meal of 24 steamed mussels, 24 steamed clams with a lemon wedge, a double cheeseburger from Burger King, a half-dozen barbecued spare ribs, 2 strawberry milkshakes, an entire half of a pumpkin pie with whipped cream, and diced strawberries, Grasso also requested a 16-ounce can of spaghetti with meatballs. What he received was not exactly what he had requested, though, as his final words were, "I did not get my SpaghettiOs. I got spaghetti. I want the press to know this." The man really wanted his SpaghettiOs. Number 4. Alton Lee Davis. Some would say that this monster deserved no right to a last meal after he mangled Nancy Wilder and her 2 daughters, 9-year-old Christina and 5-year-old Catherine. Making the crime even more devastating was the fact that Wilder was 3 months pregnant at the time of her death. The murders are far too brutal to repeat in detail, but Alton Lee Davis's last meal was definitely too good for him. For his final dining experience, he was awarded 1 lobster tail, a half-pound of fried shrimp, 6 ounces of fried clams, fried potatoes, half a loaf of garlic bread, and 32 ounces of A&W root beer. Number 3. William Bonin. The menacing-looking William Bonin and his accomplice Vernon Butts were the true definition of an abomination, having been known for raping, torturing, and murdering at least 21 boys and young men between 1979 and 1980 in California. Along with the 21 sex offenses, Bonin was also convicted for 14 additional killings. Bonin earned himself the title of the Freeway Killer, as most of the bodies were found alongside several different freeways across Southern California. On the evening of his execution, Bonin requested a hearty feast of 2 large pizzas, 3 pints of ice cream, and 18 cans of Coke. A meal far too good for the brutal acts that he committed. Number 2. Bobby Wayne Woods. With the murder and rape of 11-year-old Sarah Patterson and abduction of her younger brother attached to his name in Texas, it's not surprising that Bobby Wayne Woods was given a one-way ticket to death row. The 2 victims belonged to an ex-girlfriend of Woods, Shawana Patterson, who was sentenced to 23 years in prison for child neglect as she allegedly heard the commotion and did nothing. Before his last moments alive, Woods sought to amp up his cholesterol with 2 chicken fried steaks, 3 fried pork chops, 2 fried chicken breasts, 2 hamburgers, 4 slices of bread, half a pound of fried potatoes, half a pound of onion rings, half a pound of chocolate iced cake, and 2 pitchers of milk to wash it all down. Number 1. Lawrence Russel Brewer. The case of Lawrence Russel Brewer is a unique one and actually wound up changing the procedure in the Texas penal system. After his second stint in prison, Brewer became close friends with fellow white supremacist John William King, who was involved in the crime that put Brewer behind bars once and for all. After being convicted for the 1998 murder of James Byrd Jr., Brewer underwent psychiatric evaluation to determine if he was repentant for his crimes, which may have kept him off of death row had he seemed remotely remorseful for his actions.
As far as any regrets, no, I have no regrets. No, I would do it all over again, to tell you the truth.
If Brewer is not remembered for the murder of Byrd, then his last meal request may wind up being his lasting legacy. Brewer requested 2 chicken fried steaks with gravy and sliced onions, a triple patty bacon cheeseburger, a cheese omelet with ground beef, tomatoes, onions, bell peppers, and jalapenos, a large bowl of fried okra with ketchup, a pound of barbecued meat with half a loaf of white bread, a portion of 3 fajitas, a meat lover's pizza, a pint of Bluebell ice cream, a slab of peanut butter fudge with crushed peanuts, and to wash it all down, root beer. When he received the feast, he refused to eat it, saying that he wasn't hungry, prompting prison officials in Texas to get rid of the last meal rights.